So you find yourself consistently trying to figure out which one am I trying to keep current. So we just wanted to see if we could find a way to get that done. So motion was made that we try to mirror those if at all possible, and that's something that this committee will continue to work on and continue to look at. Mr. Bishop told us that we would probably anticipate a very, very hard legislative session coming up. We know that every year, I guess I can think for the past 6 legislative sessions, they keep getting harder and harder because money seems to be scarce, programs seem to be in jeopardy, and from what I can understand, this one's not going to be any different. Might be looking for more private companies to come over and take in governmental tasks, that is testing and anything else. This year we'll probably be seeing some more budget cuts. I've actually asked some time of Kelly Kathy, to talk about what those cuts might be and what we might feel, and if we can find some other sources to help educators take care of their needs in all 3, in frontier Texas, rural Texas, and urban Texas, to see if we can find some money for them. I think the town hall meetings have been going well, have been fairly well attended. We are trying to incorporate the new standards and trying to avoid some of the costs of the transition courses. Now, let's go back to the transition course for just a second. DSHS is researching the option of ECA to EMR. If you remember, we're looking at the name change to meet the National Standard Curriculum, because we are becoming a much more global unit. That when we had the Bastrop fires, you had firefighters coming from all over. Many of them were structural firefighters, and this was grassland. It's like, wow, that's a little different. But when something happens anymore, our neighbor is just not the person next door to us. It's in the state next door to us. It's in states, multiple next door to us. Because of what we do, we're all helpers. We want to go help. And to try to standardize some of the terms so that if you see an EMT anywhere, you at least know what the base is. Certainly, we are in no mood to take a look at trying to go with scope of practice. Texas is a delegated practice state. I think we made that pretty clear, and everybody's pretty happy with it. We have no intentions of trying to move or change that. From ECA to EMR, from EMTB to EMT, from EMTI, and I've had people ask me for years, is EMTI going away? And I said yes to someone. I saw their eyes get really big, and I said, no, we're just changing the name so it matches. And that would be a EMT going to advanced EMT, and then from EMTP, just paramedic. And that will kind of give us a streamline. Now, that will take legislative intent. We've got that one planned. That we will be presenting to a couple of legislators, and if they are in support, it's basically a name change and a quick curriculum update that goes with it. Jane Densmore and I also talked. She was at the last meeting of trying to make, especially the basic level transition courses, easier. If you look at the NASIMSO document, it was the committee's feeling that you could do paramedic transition in 15 hours if you hadn't done it. If you hadn't taught the new 2009 National Standard Curriculum, that you could do it in about 15, I think it was 15.1 actually, hours to do that. If you've already been doing it, you don't have to do anything except add it to your course completion. If not, we wanted to make sure that any department that had not done it, that wanted help doing it, that we would provide that. So, Jane, are you and I still on to try to develop something for the conference? Sure. Okay. We're going to try, actually we won't try, we will. And Kelly, I'll need one more room. I know I asked for a lot, but we'll need one more room for that. For EMS educators who need help with those transition courses, and basically just making sure that all of the skills in the curriculum are being taught. There was some discussion over whether, because being the diverse state that we are in Texas, if I would need those skills or use those skills. And it became fairly apparent that as educators, we want to teach the entire curriculum. We'll let your medical director decide what he or she doesn't want you to do. If trying to retrain you later, that if you come out of Texas, that all of those skills that are required you should have, and let your EMS provider, your operator, or your medical director make the decision on whether you should have those or not. So we'll keep on moving that direction. We've asked DISHES for some clarification on an issue that Mr. Walker brought up, and that is about sending students out of state for clinicals. We've heard a lot of stuff back and forth, and I've sent an email to legal asking them for clarification on this issue. Now, if you're sending students out of state, don't say anything right now. Okay? Don't say a word. Someone in the room that day said a word, and I don't want anybody to get on anybody's radar. Let us take a look at this first and make sure and work through it. And if it really turns out that we shouldn't be, then we'll deal with it. And if you can, we need to figure out the way that you can. That was a really, okay, was that the gist of the meeting? Was that the entire? Because everybody that was sitting here was here that day. Our next work session, we would look to review 157.32, which was to address out-of-state clinical agreements. We're looking at the last week of July for a work session and looking at members to submit agenda items for work by next Friday so that we can get those posted. Yeah, thank you. Reminding currently July 27th, I believe, was the date. The location is still TBA. I would be more than happy to host you all on July 27th. Got it, Dan? On the beach in Honduras, okay. It is.
We've got a big house there that we can have it in. It's no problem.
I like it. I like it. Can we get some good enough food too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Given recent budget cuts, my college has allowed me to add international travel.
We need a passport for that, don't we? I got to get one. I have no problems hosting that on the 27th of July at Blinn. Let's just set the tentative day. Committee, that work for you all?
Yep.
Okay. Any public comment on item 1, 2, or 3? Morning, GK.
Hello, my name is G.K. Sprinkle, and I'm speaking to you today just as an EMT that would like further clarification of things if you could. For one thing, I'm very worried about the transitional CE to become the EMT person versus the EMTB person that I am. I took a course and completed my course in 1996, so I'm fairly certain that I don't have the things that are necessary and will have to take a course. Since I don't work for a particular service in Texas, I'm concerned about how I'm going to get it. So I would like to be aware as quickly as possible what is going to be required, and I'd like to know what places might offer it so that I might be able to get on board and do it and make sure that I have it and have everything set before the end date. I've called a couple of places. I did, I think, a research out of the TEACs, and I called TEACs, and they're not ready to offer that. They said, well, they might do it, but they don't know what it is. So I would really, as a personal request to you, just because of my own personal situation, we know there might be others like me too, to know as quickly as possible what I'm going to need, how I'm going to be able to go about getting it, who's going to offer it. Maybe it could be offered at one of the November conferences. I mean, something so that I know what I'm doing, because I feel very concerned about that and, worried about that. And I'd like to speak a little bit about the meetings that you have that are in between the GTAC meetings. I understand the problems that arise that you need to deal with and you need extra time to work on it. But this is where people are. So I would ask you to consider the possibility of talking about things you want to vote on at these transitional meetings, at these in-between meetings, making a list of votes you want to take, and then maybe bringing that to this meeting where you can open it up and have people come up and, make comments, and then you take a vote. So it would, more involve stakeholders who can't come to so many meetings. I mean, maybe they're not getting paid to go to meetings, and so it's more difficult for them to come to meetings. Now, I would just make that as a suggestion. I also think that maybe the meetings could be recorded, or they could be broadcast by TTAF or something, so that if people are really strapped and can't come to every single meeting that the committee has, they would at least have the opportunity to see what's happening at the meetings as it's happening. There's so much technology these days. Maybe they could even tweet you while you were working on things to kind of give you feedback on it. I recognize that there's difficulties in getting work done, but on the other hand, you also have your stakeholders that you want to bring into it, and just advertising a meeting doesn't mean that they're all going to come. And there needs to be, I think, something to make interaction happen in a more effective way. Thank you.
Okay. Question, and I'm looking over at our producer over here. You heard what she had to say. Can you take that back to TTAF and find out if they're able, budget-wise, money-wise, whatever, what we would need to do to try to accomplish number 2? Absolutely. Okay, thank you. And I guess we also need contact dishes to make sure too. I know we've recorded these, we've done GTAC meetings, come on up, Dudley, that we've done these and GTAC meetings. Just want to make sure we're still in compliance with open meetings. Let me, GK, answer your first question, and that is, CE, the transition, if you haven't done it yet, you're probably not going to find a lot of people yet doing it, because we know that a lot of them haven't, only a few have. So as this comes out, this will not be private information, this will be public information as soon as we get it, as soon as we get the 15 hours done and we finish the quick curriculum that goes with it, we'll make that public so everybody knows. If you've been getting CE through programs that have already been doing it, you don't have to do anything. If you haven't, the programs that do will need to get, we'll just need to add that to their curriculum and get dishes to approve it. So don't worry, nobody has yet. Dudley, how are you?
I'm going to talk forever anyway, man. Come on. Look how quick they're getting business done. My committee doesn't go on for another hour yet, and we got time. One thing I would suggest, Jody, too, as a board member at TTAF, is maybe if it's really important that you think your meetings get broadcast, that you come. They're vendors of TTAF, not TTAF folks, so it might not quite, hey, can we earn more money by broadcasting some other committees? You see what I mean? It might sound better coming from you as the chair. So
yeah, and if he tells them how much it is, because I have no idea how much it is. So
yeah, well, yeah, they'll negotiate that out.
Yeah,
with a hammer and a stick. GK was mentioning some things, and I didn't think about that. On items 1, 2, and 3, and the things you mentioned, is that action the committee's already taken?
correct.
So the public comment you're asking for 1, 2, and 3 really doesn't matter because y'all have already made those decisions?
We'll be more than happy to listen to it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you at least appeasing me.
It's a pleasure.
CCMP, there's a reason nobody has used that, and it's because there are no CCMP qualified agencies because of budget cuts. Nobody in the state has been able to become qualified as that way. There's some work. TTAF has done some work to see if there's any interest at the cost it would take to do that. My concern about saying let's just make that go away is that we put a lot of hard work and a lot of effort in that, and that stuff's just sitting on a shelf. The rule's sitting there, nobody's making any changes to the rules. It can just carry forward the AED rule, for crying out loud. It just carries forward. My concern is that on the operational side of EMS, that there is a big push on for quality measures and being able to prove that you're doing quality work to be able to get paid. The CCMP is a powerful step down that path. And if we get rid of it, agencies who are ready, and I know of probably 2 or 3 agencies that if we found a way to do it today at a feasible cost, for them, would jump up and say, we're ready, let's go right now. And those agencies are the ones that trialed it back before it became official in the first place. And if we make that go away, I think we may be losing a very valuable tool for our EMS providers to be able to prove some of those quality measures, or a tool we can use to get in on some of that quality measurement work to help increase our reimbursements as we go down this path. It's not touching us yet, but it's coming, and it's coming like a freight train. And so my concern about saying let's just make it go away is I would rather say let's just put it on a shelf, put a dust cover over it, and if we need to come back and pull it off the shelf, because as we get there closer and people want to start seeing quality measures and things, it may suddenly become more economically feasible to become CCMP qualified. The other question I had is on when you're talking about matching the CE requirements to National Registry recert requirements. Is that the current ones or the ones that they're going to be switching to?
Both, because we don't have a time frame for when the switch is going to take place. So we're trying to make sure that we get people able to try to maintain dual if they want, and this is only if they want now, as well as with the proposed national standard curriculum.
Because my understanding at our meeting we had last time was that their goal is to actually lessen the number of CE hours, not increase them. And so if we're going to require additional requirements on Texas, knowing that National Registry is going to back away from those requirements, we may be putting an undue hardship on the agencies.
Dudley, let me
here in Texas.
stop you and back you up. This committee does not want to increase any hours whatsoever. We're looking to decrease hours.
Glad to hear it. You're going down my path then. The EMS committee in the rule revision suggestions for 157 did something very similar, but we went the other direction. And that is, we basically said instead of having 8 or 9 categories, airway, medical, trauma, pediatric, and no, we just lopped into other, I think was what the other one was. So we basically tried to make it easier so that folks who were trying to fit their personnel in the National Registry had more leeway in the Texas measure to be able to do that, and that medical directors in Texas could chart their own course, so to speak. And then the only other thing I'd like to do, and I mentioned this before to your committee and my committee, is if you're going to look at getting legislation to change the name of certification, I would like to challenge you guys. I'd be happy. I was trying to find the email back there, and it's in my email somewhere. I'd be happy to send that list of certification names to you. But there is a push on by a group called the International Roundtable of Paramedicine to go to one name for what we do, and that's paramedic, no matter what the training level is. And I would challenge you to examine that to see if we didn't want to push farther ahead than what the nation is here in Texas, instead of just jumping to where the nation is and trying to get caught up. And then by the time we get that done here in Texas, then the nation will be moving forward again, is maybe trying to judge and see where that is and see if we couldn't maybe jump that step, skip this AEMT, EMT, NPR, AFQRST, and just jump straight to paramedic. It does a lot of things in other countries by doing that, because everything's a paramedic. Most of us call our folks medics anyway, regardless of their certification. And so it might be a challenge for Texas to try to take a lead in something like that nationally, instead of just trying to always get caught up to what the nation is doing.
Thank you, Dudley. Any other public comment? Hello, Eddie.
And since you said 1 through 3, I'll just limit my comments to 1 through 3 right now.
Okay.
Okay. Number one, about the checklist. We have the task force that wasn't at the last meeting, that's not present here. We don't know if they've done anything at all with the transition thing, correct?
No, what they have done is not ready to be presented.
Okay. All right. Because I was going to just suggest that we've got transition classes that we know that we're going to be having to do, so that if coordinators on their own want to go ahead and get started on that, we just go ahead and do that, and we don't have to worry about number 1 anymore.
Right.
Okay. Number 2, if we're doing 2009 educational standards, which all programs should be, then I don't think need to worry about the template between the old and the new education, because if we're teaching the 2009 guidelines, we know what we're teaching and know what the difference is between that and the old curriculum. Number 3, about the CE, I think simplification of that is a must, and that if we can match something that the National Registry is doing, and we don't have to necessarily put it that X number of hours in this, X number of hours in that, you just put in there like we should be putting in the education rule about teaching current educational standards, that they meet the current National Registry recertification requirements. And as far as CCMP, if we can make CCMP as appealing, efficient, and as cost-effective as it is to achieve COAMPS accreditation, services all over the state will be jumping on it. That was a joke.
Thanks,
Because
Eddie.
it's not efficient and it's not cheap, it's not effective.
Any comment from committee on 1, 2, 3? Any announcements? I know I do have one. We have Sally Snow, who is running for the Texas representative for ENA. Always want to make sure we take care of our Texas folks first. If you'll go to ENA, you can take a look at the website and vote for our choice, which would only be Sally, right, Sally? Okay, so let's see what we can. So if you're not a nurse, talk to the nurses that you know that are ENA members, and let's see if we can get one of our Texas reps onto the national board. Mr. Bishop, anything from dishes, the meeting? You want to talk about town hall meetings? Under announcements.
Just remind about the conference. I like to keep talking about the conference because it is moving. I want to make sure everybody knows it's moving. So keep Kelly happy and off my back.
Okay. If you all noticed, this year for the first time and I can't remember how long, if ever, and if I say if ever, is that correct, Kelly? Almost? Okay, that was 19-aught what? Yeah, okay. Kelly, give us the new dates for the EMS conference for this year.
November 9th.
Can you hear me now? No, all right. November 9th through 14th. 9th is that Friday. We're going to have the instructor course, and then it goes on.
Still in Austin, correct?
Still in Austin this year, 2013 and 14 in Fort Worth.
Still at the convention center.
Still at
Hilton's still the
convention
host
center.
hotel.
Hilton is still the
So
host
the only
hotel.
thing that's changed is that we can't use the week of Thanksgiving as an excuse not to come back when it's over.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And the $98 rate in most of the hotels.
Room still available? Okay.
And all the hotels are listed on our website with the hotel codes.
Okay, so EMS conference 9th through the 14th here in Austin. Rooms are still available. Dudley, thank you for your comments. GK, thank you for yours. Eddie, thank you for yours. I know that one of the reasons CCMB has come up, it's been on the shelf 4 years with nothing done to it. So hopefully if someone's going to do it, they probably want to do it fairly fast, because I can tell you if stuff stays on the shelf too long, it does get forgotten about and goes on. So we'll take a look at that. I will talk to Jory about video conferencing, but also ask my friend to do the same thing just to get ready for it. We'll make sure that the CE levels are made very, very clear, which is part of what Jane and I and several others will be working on, and we will go from there. Any other comments? Okay. Committee members? This is what happens when we have the work groups. We can get a bunch of it done. I apologize certainly if a lot of you can't be there, but what it allows us to do is instead of an hour and a half, it gives us all day to just kind of work through and get some things done. As far as getting this out videotape, I think that would be outstanding. I think that's a great idea. And as long as it can be done and accomplished, Jory, I'll be talking to you about that too, to see if we can get TTAF to do that with enough notice and at the facilities that we go to. Committee, anything else? Nothing else? Wow, 45 minutes. We are adjourned.